In the sunny town of Soweto, the Carter family lived in perfect harmony, surrounded by love and care that permeated every corner of their home. Amadou, with his shining black hair and green eyes full of tenderness, was the foundation of the family, a dedicated and loving father. His wife Zendaya, with her brown hair falling in soft curls and deep brown eyes reflecting her gentle soul, was the heart of the home, a caring and affectionate mother. Together they formed a united and happy family dedicated to the well-being of their daughter Emily. Little Emily, at 6 years old, was the light of her parents' lives, a charming and curious child who inherited her father's black hair and her mother's brown eyes, a perfect mix of both. The family's life was full of smiles and playfulness, and the Carter home overflowed with love and happiness. Amadou, with his solid principles and unwavering responsibility, was the opposite of his brother Amari. Despite their physical resemblance, Amari's questionable choices and dishonest behavior kept them apart. Zendaya's life was marked by longing and gratitude. Losing her parents at a young age left her an orphan without close family to support her. However, Igbo Taylor's presence in her life was like a balm to her soul. The two were more than friends, heart sisters, sharing life's pains and joys together. Igbo, with her black hair shining in the sunlight and her radiant green eyes, was not only her best friend but her chosen family. When Zendaya's parents passed away, Igbo's family became her support, her foundation, her reason to smile even in the toughest times. The arrival of Amadou in her life was like a ray of sunshine in the midst of a storm. In no time they fell in love and built a family together, welcoming Emily, the fruit of their love, just a year after getting married. Igbo, in turn, also found her love in Adi, a man with dark hair and deep brown eyes who complemented her in a unique way. With the friendship and bond between the couple strengthened, Igbo and Ade became Emily's godparents. The deep love they had for the girl was evident, and she loved spending time with her godparents. Asha was proof that the bonds of the heart can be as strong as those of blood. The couple could not have biological children and were considering adoption but had not yet come to an agreement. Happiness was a constant among the friends. Igbo, Adi, Amadou, Zendaya, and Asha enjoyed moments full of life and joy together. Their friendship was so strong that they considered themselves a true family, united by bonds of love and companionship. However, fate had other plans. The fateful car accident that took the lives of Amadou and Zendaya left a huge void in Igbo and Ade's hearts. The loss of friends who were like siblings to them was a blow too hard to bear. As they took care of the funeral arrangements, sadness and desolation mixed with thoughts of what life would be like without the dear presence of Amadou and Zendaya. They took temporary responsibility for caring for Ashi while her uncle Amari was on his way. Amari's questionable attitude as Amadou's only living relative left Igbo worried. She knew that the house and Emily's guardianship would go to Amari, but his lack of interest in his niece made her apprehensive. After the funeral, Amari and his wife Aba were shocking in their behavior, mistreating Ashi in front of Igbo and Adi, kicking her out of her own home, showing their true petty and cruel character. Outraged by the situation, Igbo and Ade took Ashi in and sought legal guidance to ensure the girl's well-being. The lawyer informed them that they could adopt the child provided they obtained written authorization from Amari. Without hesitation, Igbo and Ade began the adoption process, determined to provide Ashia with the love and security she deserved. Meanwhile, Amari revealed his true nature by demanding that they never return the girl or ask for money in the future, showing that his only interest was in his brother's house, where he and Abba had already settled. Igbo and Ade were quite prosperous financially and did not need nor want Amari's money, which made Amadou's brother's pettiness even more shocking. Ashia was now legally Igbo and Ade's daughter, and their home was a refuge of love and security. With the adoption papers in hand, it was time to start anew in another city, where they could create new memories without the constant reminder of the tragedy that had befallen them. For 6-year-old Emily, the loss of her parents was a painful blow. The rejection by her uncle and the embrace of her godparents represented a roller coaster of emotions. She clung to happy memories, but the longing was overwhelming. Igbo and Ade's support and love were like a balm to her childlike soul, bringing her comfort and security amidst the pain. In that moment of profound emotion, in the room lit only by the soft light of the fixtures, Idiot and Azebo sat on the couch with Ashia between them. The girl, with tears in her eyes, held the teddy bear that her biological mother had given her. "I miss my parents so much," murmured Emily, her voice choked with emotion. Adi, his eyes also moist, pulled Ashia into his lap, embracing and comforting her tenderly. "We miss them too, Emily. Your father and mother were wonderful people, and they will always be remembered with love," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "But you're here now, right?" Ashia looked alternately at Azebo and Aid, seeking comfort in their loving gazes. "Yes, my angel, we're here," Azebo replied, holding the girl's hand. "You are our priority, and we want you to feel loved and safe. Now, will you be my parents or my godparents?" she asked expectantly, her brown eyes shining with tears. Adid and Azebo looked at each other, sharing a moment of connection and determination. Adi responded firmly but gently, "We want to be your parents, Emily. We want to take care of you, love you, and see you grow up happy and secure. But you don't have to call us parents if you don't want to. You can call us whatever makes you feel most comfortable." Azebo, her eyes shining with emotion, added, "The important thing is that we are together as a family, and we will take care of each other. You are very special to us, and we want you to know that we love you very much, dear." "I love you both very much too," Ashia sighed, embracing the couple. The love and emotion of everyone were visible in that moment. A few years later, Ashia came home shouting, "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you. I have great news." Azebo and Ad, eager and curious, approached to hear the news. "What happened, honey?" Azebo said, her eyes shining with excitement. "I got accepted to Stanford," Mama Shai said with great joy. "Wow, congratulations, daughter. I knew you could do it," said Ad, moved and proud of his daughter's achievement. "What wonderful news. Congratulations, dear. You wanted this so much." "I am so happy and proud," said Azebo, tears of joy already streaming down her face as she hugged her daughter. "No need to cry, Mom," said Emily, also tearing up. Ada hugged them both and laughed, teasing that they were both crybabies, which made everyone laugh. Emily, now a young adult, radiated joy and determination. Her smile lit up the room as she hugged Azebo and Adi, her loving and dedicated parents. The house, now filled with happy memories and shared moments, was the backdrop for this emotional scene. Ashia set off for Stanford, embracing the challenge of living in another city away from her parents. Since being adopted by Azebo and Adid, they had never been apart. The farewell was difficult, especially for Emily, who knew it was also a painful moment for her adoptive mother Azebo, although she tried to disguise it to avoid upsetting Ashia even more. They unconditionally supported their daughter, but the departure presented a new phase full of uncertainties and challenges for everyone. Ashia was determined to face this new stage with courage and dedication, but she knew it would be difficult to get used to the absence of her parents and the distance from home. Ashia still remembered her biological parents, cherishing memories of them, and feeling their absence in special moments of life. However, since being welcomed by Adid and Azebo, she gained a new family full of love and unconditional support. The affection she felt for her adoptive parents was as intense as what she felt for her biological parents. In the years that followed, Ashia dedicated herself diligently to her medical studies, standing out as one of the top students in her class. Her determination and passion for the field propelled her to constantly seek academic excellence. Whenever she could, she visited her parents, or they would come to visit her. Over time, Ashia progressed in her medical career, and her specialization in neurology stood out for its excellence and dedication, making her one of the most respected professionals in her field. Despite her youth, Ashia was recognized not only for her competence but also for her empathy and care for patients, qualities that made her an exemplary physician. She requested a transfer to the most renowned hospital in her parents' city. Ashia wanted to be close to her parents and make the most of every moment of this new phase of life. Adi and Azebo were ecstatic about their daughter's professional success and happy with her decision to return to the city. They had always respected Emily's freedom of choice, and even though they did not interfere in her decision, they were thrilled to have her close by again. At 29 years old, Emily, a renowned neurosurgeon at the local hospital, dedicated herself tirelessly to caring for patients. On a day like any other, a young man who appeared to be about 16 years old was brought into the hospital in critical condition, the victim of a car accident that resulted in severe head trauma. His life hung in the balance. Ashia was the doctor on duty at that moment, and was immediately called to attend to the young man. Adrenaline surged through Emily's veins as she prepared to handle the delicate case. Every second was crucial for the young man. She took a deep breath, seeking the concentration needed to face the challenge. She entered the emergency room with determination, focused on her mission to stabilize the patient. Every move was precise and calculated, her experience and knowledge put to the test. The young man's life was in her hands, and Ashia was determined to do everything in her power to save him. Tests revealed a blood clot in the young man's brain, requiring emergency surgery. The operating room was filled with tension and concentration. Ashia, the medical team, with firmness and determination. Her gaze was focused, her mind completely devoted to every precise movement. During the surgery, the room was filled with bright lights, sophisticated medical equipment, and the constant beeping of cardiac and respiratory monitors. As Ashia worked to remove the blood clot from the young man's brain, she remained calm and composed even in the face of the gravity of the situation. Every decision was made carefully and swiftly, moving to save the patient's life. The pressure was intense, but Ashia was determined to do whatever was necessary. After hours of an intense procedure, the patient suffered a cardiac arrest, leading the medical team to a critical moment. With skill and speed, they managed to reverse the situation and stabilize the young man. The surgery was a success, but she knew that the battle was not completely won, and the next 48 hours would be crucial to see how the patient would respond. Minutes later, Ashia stood, sitting in a chair, recovering from hours in the operating room. She reflected on the importance of medicine in her life. Since she was a child, she knew she wanted to be a doctor, inspired by the loss of her parents in a car accident. That tragedy motivated her to dedicate her life to saving others, to making a difference even in the most difficult moments. Looking at the medical team around her, Ashia felt deep gratitude. They were her colleagues, her friends, and together they shared the same passion for medicine. She knew she was not alone in that moment, and that gave her strength to face any challenge that came her way. Ashia was monitoring the patient. He had responded well to the surgery and was showing signs of improvement. Ashia felt a weight being lifted off her shoulders. The battle had been won, at least for now. She knew there was still a long road ahead, but she was determined to help her patient make a full recovery. Her patient was identified as Aiden Carter, only 16 years old. The boy's parents waited anxiously in the waiting room, and Emily, aware of her responsibility in the surgery, prepared to speak with them. At that moment, she didn't pay attention to the familiarity of the surname. When her intern presented the boy's parents, Ashia had to disguise her shock. She was facing Amari and Abiba Carter, the aunt and uncle who had rejected her when she was just 6 years old. Containing the emotion of this unexpected reunion, Ashia assumed a professional posture and spoke with the parents, explaining the procedures performed and that their son was stable, but that the next few hours would be critical for him. Aiden's parents listened carefully to every word, concern and despair evident on their faces, fearful of losing their only child. They thanked Ashia for saving their son's life, to which she kindly replied that she was just doing her job. Ashia led them to the ICU where Aiden was sedated, allowing them to see him for 10 minutes. The atmosphere in the ICU was tense, with monitors showing the patient's restricted signs and the sounds of equipment filling the air. Abeba held Aiden's hand while Amari, with teary eyes, stroked his head. Ashia watched the scene with a mix of emotions. On one hand, she felt the parents' pain, remembering what it was like to be on the other side with her own biological parents. On the other hand, there was an old resentment towards Amari and Abigail, which now mixed with compassion in the face of the delicate situation. As they said goodbye, Amari thanked Ashia sincerely, and Abiba gave her a meaningful look. Ashia felt a lump in her throat as she wondered if she could ever forgive them. Sometime later, at the hospital, Ashia was still trying to recover from this unexpected reunion. Old memories surfaced in her mind like flashes from an old movie. She saw herself again as a 6-year-old, confused and scared, while a tall man shouted at her and her adoptive parents. At that time, Ashia was not old enough to understand what was happening. All Azibo and Aid told her was that from that moment on, they would be her family. It was only at 15 that her adoptive parents decided to tell her the truth about her uncle Amari, but they did it very carefully so as not to hurt her. Now, facing Amari and Abigail, Ashia felt a complex mix of emotions. There was hurt from the abandonment of the past, but there was also compassion in the face of Adan's delicate situation. She tried to remain professional, focusing on her role as a doctor, but it was hard not to be affected by this reunion with her turbulent past. She just wanted this shift to end soon. After finishing her shift, Ashia went straight to her parents' house. She needed to talk to someone. As soon as her parents saw her, they were happy to see her so early, but they immediately noticed her downcast and tired look, a sign of an intense shift. However, they knew there was something more, something that was worrying her. As Ashia entered the room, she began to tell her parents everything that had happened at the hospital. She recounted the story of Aiden, the patient, the diagnosis, the surgery, and the unexpected moment when she discovered he was her own cousin. Her words were filled with confusion and emotion, reflecting the intensity of the moment. As she spoke, Ashia pondered what to do next. She knew that ethically she should inform her superior about the relationship with the patient and be removed from the case to avoid any conflict of interest. Even if she had known before the surgery, Ashia wouldn't have changed anything. She would have done everything possible to save Adnan. After all, her commitment as a doctor had always been to save lives regardless of anything else. Another question tormenting Ashia was whether to reveal her identity to her relatives or simply let it go, as if the reunion had never happened. After all, until that moment, they only knew her as Dr. Taylor, not the niece who had been rejected years before. Could she let it go and move on with her life? Should she forgive her uncle who had rejected her when she needed love and affection the most? Azibo and Aid listened attentively, concerned for their daughter. They knew how impactful that reunion could be for Emily, bringing back painful memories from the past. Together, they tried to find the right words to comfort and guide her on what to do next. The house was filled with a sense of tension and uncertainty, but also of love and unconditional support. Ashia sat on the couch in the house where she grew up, surrounded by the atmosphere of love that had always been there. She looked around, her eyes taking in every familiar detail, every object that told a story of her life. Her parents were by her side, as they always had been, supporting her and loving her unconditionally. Overwhelmed by these intense emotions, Ashia hugged her parents tightly, feeling grateful to have them in her life. At that moment, she made an important decision. She told her parents that for now, she needed rest and the comfort of their embrace. All she wanted now was the comfort and security of her parents' home, where she felt protected and loved. Sitting together on the couch, the cozy atmosphere of the living room seemed to embrace them, creating a scene of love and mutual understanding. Emily's parents enveloped her in a warm hug, conveying all the love and support they had always given her. At that moment, the silence of the house was necessary for the comforting presence of the united family, ready to face any challenges life brought together. Ashia took advantage of her break to enjoy the house where she grew up and the company of her parents. The familiar and welcoming atmosphere brought her a sense of peace and comfort that she needed. The next day, Ashia sought information about Aidan's condition and received the news that he was progressing well. His vital signs were good, and the swelling in his brain had decreased. His condition was still serious but stable. They would have to wait for him to wake up to check for possible sequelae. Ashia felt relieved by the news about Aidan, determined to act with ethics and professionalism. Ashia immediately sought out her superior to explain the situation and her discovery of the relationship with the patient. She chose not to go into details but made it clear that she preferred to step away from the case. Despite initial hesitation, her superior granted her request, confirming her competence and professional integrity and assigning the patient to Dr. Wilson. Ashia was satisfied with her decision. Although the uncle was not someone close to her, and she didn't even know the boy, she knew that acting according to her principles was the right choice. Now, the second part was missing. She continued with her medical routine. She had surgery scheduled for today and needed to focus on this patient. The surgery was complex and lengthy, lasting about 7 hours. However, the effort paid off as it was successful. At the end of the procedure, Ashai felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion, but her priority was to inform the family about the positive outcome of the surgery. As she left the operating room and headed to the waiting room, she encountered Amari and Abigail, Aidan's parents, and her aunt and uncle. She greeted them politely and went to update the families of the patients she had just operated on. After updating the families on the patient's condition, Ashia was leaving the waiting room when Dr. Wilson arrived, informing her that Aidan had woken up and had undergone tests that showed no signs of sequelae. He said that if he continued to improve and there were no complications, he could go home in a few days. Ashia breathed deeply, relieved by the latest news about Aidan. She was on her night shift when she decided to visit Aidan, her former patient and cousin. He was no longer in the ICU, he had been transferred to a regular room. She walked to the room where he was hospitalized, trying to remain calm despite the emotion she felt upon seeing him. Aidan was sitting on the bed, his black hair and green eyes reminiscent of Emily's biological father. His gentle smile brought unexpected comfort to her. She began to talk to him, asking how he was feeling and explaining a bit about the procedure he had undergone. Aidan expressed his gratitude to Ashia for saving him, and she felt a surge of emotion at his words. She immediately liked the boy, admiring his courage and determination to recover. Despite the connection she felt with Aidan, Ashia decided not to reveal their relationship at that moment. She wanted that moment to be only about the doctor-patient relationship, without personal complications. For now, she would keep that information to herself, focusing on taking care of Aidan's well-being as best as possible. Aidan found Ashia very familiar, as if he knew her from somewhere, and he was impressed by how kind and fun she was, even as a doctor. As they talked, Aidan began to feel a special connection with Emily. He realized that she was not only an amazing doctor but also a wonderful person. Days later, Aidan was finally discharged, and for Emily it was time to face the past that had come knocking at her door. With her aunt and uncle's address in hand, she decided to go there. Her parents wanted to accompany her, but she said she needed to do this alone. After much discussion, they reluctantly agreed. She said goodbye to her parents with a tight hug and headed towards her aunt and uncle's house. Ashia took a deep breath as she looked at herself in the car's mirror. Her expression was a mix of determination and nervousness, but she knew she had to face this situation. Upon arriving, Ashia felt a lump in her throat. The house was imposing, with a well-kept garden and a welcoming porch. She rang the doorbell, and the seconds dragged on. When the door opened, she didn't say she was Dr. Taylor, choosing instead to introduce herself as Emily. At that moment, her parents arrived, and Ashia was surprised at how quickly they reached her. They said they had always been by her side, and that now would be no different. Their words of support moved her. She felt supported and safe, even in the face of what was about to happen. Aidan, who was in the living room watching the commotion, went to the door, and upon seeing who it was, asked everyone to come in. He was intrigued to know what Dr. Taylor was doing in his house. She simply said she needed to talk to his parents. Abiba and Amari entered the room. She recognized Igbo and Adi immediately, but Amari did not. Ashia took a deep breath before speaking, feeling the weight of the words about to come out. She revealed her true identity, saying she was Ashia, the biological daughter of Amadou and Zendaya. She explained that Amadou was Amari's brother and that she was his niece and Aidan's cousin. The revelation caused a shock in the room, leaving everyone stunned by the discovery. She emphasized that she did not know of this relationship when she operated on Aidan, only finding out later when updating the parents about their son's health. Ashia stressed that she had asked to be removed from the case to avoid any conflict of interest. Confused, Aidan asked his parents for explanations, and they briefly explained what had happened 23 years ago. Upon hearing the story, he was horrified by his parents' actions. The revelation brought a mix of emotions to the surface for everyone involved. Ashia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words as she prepared to speak. She looked at Amari and Abigail, her aunt and uncle, with a mix of determination and compassion in her eyes. "Uncle, I forgive you," Ashia began, her voice calm and firm. "I don't want to carry any ill feelings in my heart. I need to resolve this issue and leave the past behind. I don't expect to reconnect bonds that never existed, but I need this closure. I am grateful to you both because, in a way, your actions brought Aid and Igbo into my life as parents. I had an amazing life full of love, care, and joy even after losing my biological parents, and I am sure I wouldn't have had that with you too. Looking at Aid and Igbo, she said, I know it wasn't easy for you to raise a child who wasn't your own blood, but you did it with so much love and dedication that I never felt any different. You were the best parents I could have asked for. And I am eternally grateful to you for everything. I am Ashia with great pride, and I love you both so much, Ashia concluded, her voice filled with emotion. Adi and Igbo, their eyes brimming with tears, felt a mix of pride and love overflowing in their hearts. Emotionally, they approached Ashia and embraced her with tenderness and love, reciprocating her declaration of love. Amari and Abiba watched the scene, feeling ashamed, but there wasn't much to say after what Ashai had spoken. They knew she was right. Aidan enveloped Ashia in a warm hug, overflowing with gratitude and happiness. Ashai felt a comforting warmth in her heart as she embraced the young man, an inexplicable feeling of connection and affection. Ashia left the Carter's house accompanied by her parents, Adi and Igbo. She felt relieved and moved to finally close this chapter of her life. Her parents looked at her with pride, admiring the maturity and compassion with which she handled the situation. They knew their daughter had faced a difficult moment but emerged from it even stronger. They were extremely proud of the woman she had become. As they walked together, Ashiak knew she didn't want to keep in touch with her aunt and uncle, but she was determined to maintain this connection with Adandan because she felt he represented an important part of her life. Looking at her parents, Ashia felt grateful to have such wonderful parents by her side. She knew that with their support, she could face any challenge that came her way. She knew she was exactly where she should be at home with her family, ready to move forward with her heart full of love and hope. The moral of the story is that true family is defined by love and support, rather than blood ties. Forgiveness and letting go of past grievances are essential for personal growth and inner peace. Unconditional love and nurturing relationships can heal wounds and help individuals overcome life's challenges. If you love your parents, cherish every moment, forgive past hurts, and hold on to the bonds of love and family. Ashia's journey teaches us the importance of unconditional support and the power of forgiveness in healing old wounds. Subscribe to our channel for more touching stories that celebrate the enduring strength of family and the human spirit.